On a freezing February night in 2025, a case began that would stay with people long after they heard it. It started in the quiet farmlands of Minnesota and stretched all the way to the lonely roads of upstate New York. What happened along the way was heartbreaking and deeply unsettling. This is the story of Sam Nordquist. Sam Nordquist was a 24-year-old transgender man with a gentle soul and a fierce desire for love. Born and raised in Red Wing, Minnesota, Sam was known for his warm smile and his commitment to caring for others. By day, he worked at a group home for disabled individuals in nearby Little Canada, a testament to his kind heart. Behind Sam's bright eyes, something seemed off. There was a quiet restlessness, as if he was searching for something he couldn't quite name. In the fall of 2024, he packed his bags and left his small Minnesota hometown with a plan. He was heading to Geneva, New York, to finally meet Precious Arzuaga, the girl he had been talking to online. It was supposed to be an exciting new chapter, a fresh start, filled with hope. But instead of a happy reunion, Sam's journey slowly took a dark and troubling turn. As September faded into winter, his messages to family became worrisome. He didn't sound like himself anymore. His words felt scattered, and the warmth his family knew so well seemed to fade, replaced by a distant, uneasy tone. His loved ones grew increasingly concerned. They reached out again and again, begging local authorities to check on him, but their pleas were brushed aside, their fears dismissed. No one stepped in when it mattered most, a decision that in time would be questioned with deep regret. Between December 2024 and early February 2025, Sam's life became something out of a nightmare. Only he wasn't asleep, and there was no waking up from it. Trapped inside a rundown motel room at Patty's Lodge in Hopewell, he endured suffering that no one should ever have to face. The evidence uncovered later painted a horrifying picture. For over a month, he was subjected to relentless torment, his days and nights blending into a cycle of pain and fear. The people responsible weren't strangers. They were 7 individuals: Precious Arzuaga, Jennifer Brookins, Patrick Goodwin, Kyle Sage, Emily Martika, Kimberly Sakia, and Thomas Eves, bound together by twisted relationships and a shared darkness. Once they had lives that seemed ordinary from the outside, but beneath the surface lurked something sinister. What they did to Sam Nordquist went beyond cruelty. It was inhuman, something words can barely begin to describe. Later, police reports would lay out the horrifying details. Sam was beaten over and over again, not just with fists, but with anything his captors could find. Sticks, dog toys, ropes, belts, whatever was within reach became a weapon. He was starved for days, his body growing weaker with every passing hour. Even water was withheld, and when he was finally given something to drink, it wasn't water. It was urine, feces, tobacco juice. Anything to humiliate him. As if that wasn't enough, they poured bleach over his battered skin, burning him, making it even harder to breathe in that filthy motel room. This wasn't just a bad night, or even a few days of suffering. It went on for weeks. Every single day, he endured more pain, more humiliation, more cruelty. Sam had always been strong, the kind of guy who pushed through life's struggles. But even the toughest person has a breaking point. And in that room, surrounded by people who saw him as nothing more than something to torture, he was running out of fight. The arrests in Hopewell happened quickly. On February 9, police moved in and took 5 people into custody. Less than 2 weeks later, on February 20th, 2 more were arrested, bringing the total to 7. The group ranged in age from just 19 to 38. Different backgrounds, different lives, but all connected by the horrifying things they had done to Sam. At first, they were charged with assault, kidnapping, and torture, but as investigators uncovered more horrifying details, prosecutors quickly raised the charges. What started as second-degree murder was soon escalated to first-degree, and that was just the beginning. The list of crimes was long: false imprisonment, conspiracy, abuse, the kind of charges that painted a clear picture of just how brutal and calculated their actions had been. Sam's final weeks had been nothing short of hell, but now the people responsible were finally being forced to answer for it. On February 13th, a heartbreaking discovery was made by a local farmer who had been checking on his land after a recent snowfall. Human remains believed to be Sam's were found in a quiet, empty field in Yates County, about 50 miles southeast of Rochester. The spot was far from any busy roads or houses, a place where few people ever passed, and that was no accident. In a desperate move to hide what they had done, Sam's killers had moved his body there, hoping it would never be found. They wrapped him in plastic, a cold and disturbing act that showed just how far they were willing to go to cover up the horror. This wasn't just about hiding evidence, it was about trying to erase Sam completely. But even in that lonely field, covered by snow and silence, the truth still managed to come to light. After news of Sam's brutal death spread, communities from both Minnesota and New York were left heartbroken. People who had never even met him felt the weight of his story, and those who knew him were shattered. In the days that followed, neighbors, friends, and strangers gathered to mourn. Vigils were held in Sam's hometown of Red Wing, Minnesota, where he grew up, and in Canandaigua, New York, not far from where his life was stolen. At these gatherings, candles lit up the cold nights as people came together to share memories and prayers. Friends spoke about Sam's gentle spirit, his kindness, and the way he always found time to lift others up. Even those who only knew him through stories could feel how deeply he had touched the lives around him. His life may have ended in cruelty, but the love and unity that followed showed just how much he mattered and how he would never be forgotten. News outlets across the country struggled to fully capture the depth of the tragedy as it unfolded. At first, headlines focused on Sam's identity as a transgender man, sparking conversations about acceptance and representation. But soon, the focus shifted to the horrifying details of the abuse he endured, leaving many stunned and heartbroken. The story seemed to grow more complex with each passing day. Local and national officials quickly spoke out, offering statements of sympathy and outrage. Both the governors of New York and Minnesota condemned the crime, calling it senseless and devastating. Yet, even as they stood before cameras, serious questions lingered. Was this just a random, cruel crime? Or was Sam targeted for who he was? Was there a deeper prejudice fueling this violence? The community was left wrestling with these questions, trying to make sense of a tragedy that, no matter how closely examined, still felt unbearable. Across the country, people from the LGBTQ community and human rights groups were heartbroken and angry. Many felt that Sam's story was not just about one terrible crime, but a sign of a bigger problem that still exists today. Groups like GLAAD, New Pride Agenda, and the New York City Anti-Violence Project spoke out right away. They didn't just want justice for Sam, they wanted real change. These groups asked for hate crime charges, believing that Sam may have been targeted not just by chance, but because of who he was. They also called for better laws and stronger protections for people who often feel unsafe or unheard. Their message was clear: Sam's life mattered, and so do the lives of many others who are still at risk. One thing is certain, Sam's story will never be forgotten. The pain, the love, and the fight for justice will echo for years to come, reminding us all how important it is to protect those who are most vulnerable. And for those of you watching, remember, stories like Sam's are not just news. They are real people, real pain, and real families left behind. If you or someone you know is struggling or feels unsafe, please don't be afraid to reach out for help. No one should ever have to walk that road alone. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. Take care, and remember, you're never alone.